Okay, so here was the book that we read to help us know what a personal narrative was. Remember, personal narratives are stories of things that really happened in your life. So it can't be a made-up story. It has to be something that really happened. So this was a small moment story. Remember, it was a seed. It wasn't about her whole day. It was only about the walk she went with her dad, her pa, to find an owl. And we're not going to read it again. We're not even going to go through the whole book. We're just going to go to the beginning to help us with our beginnings. So one of the ways we can start our beginning, a strong beginning, is by describing the setting. What's a setting? Okay, put that down. What's a setting? What's a setting, Xavier? Where the story is taking place. Chase, put it on your face. Is it broken again? Put it in trash. Do you have another one? Okay, I'll get you one in a minute. Okay, so write a strong beginning by describing the setting. Setting is where the story takes place. So this is going to go in our organization part of our bulletin board. Organization means the order that you put your story in or how you write it. So we're going to put strong beginnings by describing our setting. So think about where your story takes place. Think about where you have your story at. Right now in your head. Think about your setting of your story. The story you're going to write. Kinser, stop please. Think about your story and what the setting's going to be. Let's listen to the setting for this story, for Owl Moon. I'm just going to read the first page and think about all the things she does when she writes a beginning. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. Okay, so we know now it's in winter, and we know it's night. That helps the setting, doesn't it? There was no wind. That tells me how it feels outside. The trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine, so she could see in the nighttime because the moon was so bright. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew. She's talking about what she hears. Long and low, like a sad, sad song. So we know when it is, what time of day it is, what season it is. We know that it's bright outside. We know that there's no wind that she feels. We know that she hears a train. So she's talking about a lot of her senses here, right? Her sight, she can see because of the bright moon. Her hearing, she can hear the train. Her feeling, no wind, she couldn't feel the wind. And we know it's probably cold because she told us it was winter. And this picture shows us that too, right? So just from this very first page, we already know where we're at. So that's what we're going to focus on today, is writing a strong beginning to our story. So I'm going to write the strong beginning to my story, and then you're going to try yours here in a minute. Where's my purple folder? I need you to listen right now. No, there can't be more than one set. Well, it can change throughout your story, yes. Okay, here's my story planner. Now remember, these are small moment stories, so it's not about how you were in the house and then you were outside and then you went back to sleep. This is a small moment story, so we're going to try to keep it as small as we can as far as the moment. The story is going to be long. So, what part of my story planner am I going to? Am I going to this part? No. Am I going to this part? Yes, this is my beginning. I'm not going to start with my ending or my middle. I start right here. Yes, Gracie? Okay. All right, so I said I heard the tornado warning. I hid in the bathtub. My dad called and said he was in his bathtub. So I got to think about my beginning. So let's think when it was. It was an evening because it was right before we were going to bed. And I had the TV on. Okay, let me think. Okay. Late one night, and it was in the spring. In the spring, I was watching TV. All of a sudden, the weatherman said, "Tornado warning!" Take cover. I could hear the wind howling. Oop. I ran to grab some blankets. And yelled to Mary, that's my daughter, and my husband, to get in the bathroom. Okay, we climbed into the cold bathtub. Are bathtubs always cold? I think they are. So I'm going to put I like cold.
My bathtub's always hot and cold.
Okay, we climbed into the cold bathtub with our blankets.
It must be nasty.
No, my bathroom's always clean.
Oh, mine is.
Okay, we climbed into the bathtub with our blankets. Then the phone rang. Yeah, I always bring my phone so I can watch the weather on my phone. Then the phone rang. It was my dad. Okay, so that's my beginning, I think. No, he was in his bathtub too. Nope, the middle is about when he called me back and said he heard the tornado. This is just me getting in the bathtub. So, now, do you know what time of day it is?
Yes.
Do you know what season it is?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do I know what I hear? I hear tornado warning, right? Yeah. Okay, and I hear the howling. That's right, I hear the howling. I didn't really put anything I smelled because that really didn't matter about my story. You have to put everything. Oh, yes, I heard the phone ring. So, yeah, those are all some things. But I started off at where I was at, right? Late one night in the spring, I was watching TV. Maybe I should put in my house. In the living room. Maybe in the living room. I'm going to add that. See, I'm already revising. I haven't even... I don't. Okay. I'm going to read one more time. This is my story. Let me tell my story. Late one night in the spring, I was watching TV in the living room. So I know where I'm at. I know it's night. I know it's spring. I know I'm watching TV. I know I'm in a living room. All of a sudden, the weatherman said, "Tornado warning, take cover." I could hear the wind howling. I ran to grab some blankets and yelled to Mary and my husband to get in the bathroom. We climbed into the cold bathtub with our blankets. Then the phone rang. It was my dad. He was in his bathtub, too. Okay, so that's my beginning of my story. I talked about the setting. Miss Alyssa, this is my story. Let me tell it, okay? Okay. All right, so I want you to think about, right now, I want you to get out your story planner. Get out your story planner. Some of you are still working on it. It's okay if you haven't finished it yet. I'll give you some time. But everyone, I think, is probably at least done their beginning. Get out your story planner. Okay, look at your beginning again. Refresh your memory. What does your beginning look like? Think about it. Look about it. Okay, you got your story planner. You looked at your beginning. So now I want you to turn to a partner. So Chase and Kinsler, Kate and Sadie. You're not going to get all close. You're just going to turn to each other. Let's have Emsley and Alyssa. Sydney and Isaiah, Grant and Emma, Heather and Lily, Blaze and Gracie, Wyatt and Cooper, and Xavier and Corbin. So everyone has someone to talk to. I just want you to tell them what you're thinking about for your beginning. Tell them about the setting and what you're gonna write about. Just the beginning. Just the beginning. Okay, now that we've let everyone know about our partner know about our beginning, you should have just talked about just your beginning, your setting, how you're gonna have a strong beginning by talking about your setting. Now notice my beginning, which I've now lost. Oh, there it is. My beginning is not just 1 or 2 sentences, is it? It's a lot of sentences. Now, I know some of you still need to only write 1 or 2 sentences or 3, but 1 sentence is not. We're not writing 1 sentence for each one. We're going to try at least write 2 or 3. And some of you can write more, I know. So at least 2 or 3 for beginning and 2 or 3 for the end. And they can be short sentences if you have a hard time writing sentences. But if you are good at writing sentences, then I expect yours to be longer, not a lot of short sentences. Okay? So you need to at least tell me what time of day it was, where you were, what it was like. Okay? We got to talk about where the setting was. That's how we're going to start our stories. So you now told your partner about your beginning of your story. So now we're going to write our beginning of our story, just the beginning part. We're not going to the middle part yet. Right, today we're just working. So if you finish your beginning, go back through it and read it. Remember, I added the part that I was at my house. So maybe you can go back through and reread it and see if it makes sense and see if there's anything else you can add. If you're having a hard time, think about what you taste, you smell, you hear. You don't have to do all your senses. I didn't do smell because that wasn't important. But think if there's a way that can help you. What you heard or what you saw. Okay? And then obviously where you were and what you were doing and what time of day it was. So I'm going to have you start your beginning. We're only going to have about a few minutes before we go to specials. But when we get back from library, because we have extra library day, then you're going to work on this a little bit more. Okay, so you'll just keep it at your desk. So you can start now for a few minutes and then we'll start back up when we get back from library.